Like when I heard the story about Marcelo Lucero being killed, it didn't surprise me at all, because a week earlier I had been attacked in Pachoque. A week earlier, and it made me think like it could have been me. You know, I was attacked by a different group of teenagers.
You would treat a dog bad, you would treat, an animal bad. Racism, I feel like people treat other people bad because of their differences.
It's not right. It's just not right. It made me feel small. It made me feel like I didn't have anyone to go to. I felt closed in, trapped, with no outlet.
I didn't feel good. I felt like I was nothing. I felt like why am I here?
One time I was riding my bike, and then I saw this group of young kids. They came and pulled right next to me. I was going on the opposite direction of the road. So they told me to go ahead, and as I was crossing the street, they didn't make the U-turn. They pulled right into the street and they hit me with the car. So I flew up in the air. I landed on the concrete, and I hurt my back. And so they got out of the car. I remember clearly there was four of them. And they pulled out baseball bats and they beat me up. And so they hurt my knees really bad. Since then I've been having problems with my knees. And they pulled two of my teeth out. And I remember clearly one of them put his feet on my mouth and he said, "You should go back to where you belong, dirty Mexican."
Is judging without knowing.
Just, judging people and before you get to know them. That's what prejudice is.
It's like you're prejudging someone without actually knowing them or getting to know them. So you have like these thoughts in your mind of what a person should be.
And I think people judge based on what they don't know, what they aren't accustomed to.
So in some ways, I've always faced people looking, staring, avoiding, kind of walking really big and wide around me, and things like that all through my life, growing up and everything. It's like they're uncomfortable. They don't know what to do, what to say. They're not sure, okay, she walks, she talks, she's kind of looks like me, but she looks different, odd, what is this all about? And so people have a tendency to avoid those that are different, or they have uncertainty, or just basically makes them feel uncomfortable. Why? Who even knows? Because it's like, none of these people, I would bet my life on it, none of these people would have walked up to me unless I was on TV. I would have just been that little person that you could see it. You don't even have to look at it, but you can see all the eyes watch you from one end of the airport, walking through, getting to your gate, or through the grocery store, through the mall. I truly did not understand it from them, because to me, I was like, what's the problem? I really didn't see it. And I think there was just definitely something inside that said, you know what, you're still a good person, you still need to keep moving forward, regardless of these things that you are facing, or these things that you are dealing with, or your perceptions, or whatever, or what other people are saying or throwing at you. There's still a next day. We got to get to wherever that point is. It's an adventure. Life's an adventure. You have learned and found out about someone who's different, has a disability, or whatever they perceive of me. Now go out and now look at all the other people that maybe you were afraid of, or didn't know, or lack of information, or avoided for whatever reason. And I basically think people are good people.
This whole race thing, what gets me is, how are you gonna be mad at somebody because their skin is different than yours?
I'm a Latin man, and growing up, people used to just say, because of my skin tone, I didn't look like that. So even though I was that person who I was, as far as being from the Latin culture, my mom's Puerto Rican and my dad's Dominican, they would just say, well, you're Caucasian, you're not really Spanish like that. So That's something that throughout my whole life, because of the way I looked, that kind of determined who I was, even though that's not really the case for me.
I'm from Nigerian descent, and there's like a common misperception in my culture that light skin is better.
My parents have always told me, like, if you have to date somebody who's a different race, it's always better to, like, bring somebody home who's lighter skin. I mean, even from my dad, who's really the easiest going guy ever, he has friends of so many different races. But once you talk about dating, it's just out of the question.
You know, depending on what you look like may not be who you really are. You know, you may look a certain skin tone, you may be, you know, light as day, dark as night, but who's to say, you know who you really are unless I talk to you, communicate with you.
What we have to accept is that we all have biases. Clearly, people grow up in an environment that that they hear things, they learn things about other groups, other ethnicities, other religions, and then they act out on them. So with that, automatically becomes those people versus us. And certainly in economic times, when school budgets are being voted down, the blame becomes because of those people, whoever those people are. And I feel the word those is almost like a 4-letter word. Well, it's very difficult when we do a whole presentation and we tell them this is against the law, and we tell them no, 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 and then they go home and mom and dad say, the hell with that. Those people are causing our problem. So I would like to think that we are changing people. I'm not quite sure of that when we still are the 3rd most segregated county and we are still dealing with hate crimes on a regular basis. And the new generation, I've been doing this for 11, 12 years now. So, you know, I've gone through a generation of parents now. Kids were kids, now they're the parents and they're bringing the kids up, and we're cycling through again the same thing. So I don't know if we're going to change it. I think we're making people aware of it.
Yeah, I grew up in North Delta, Mississippi, a small town, Sledge, Mississippi. Yeah, and it's not a lot of people. It's really not a lot of people. And there, white people live on one side of the track, and black people live on the other side. I think I may have had one white friend, and she comes to mind so clear. Actually, I'm lying. 2 white friends and 1 boy. He was half white. So, but they weren't really white. I think their skin was white, but on the inside they were black, because they were the most, I want to say hood, but ghetto-esque people you could ever want to meet in your life. But they were funny and they were nice, and they didn't believe in just color. I think that the ones that were white just tried to fit in with us to make us feel better, because they saw what it was like for us and they just wanted to be our friend. I remember a couple of white teachers, but they never stayed for very long. In a black school, when I was growing up, you had teachers assistants, or you had teachers that was trying to get their license, or you had, teachers that did have their license but didn't care. They was just doing it. They just didn't care. That made us feel like we couldn't achieve anything. Well, what's our purpose? That would be the question. It's like, what's our purpose if we just here and they just passing us, pushing us through? It makes us think. It made me think that this is gonna happen for the rest of my life. Stuff is gonna be handed to me because I didn't earn it. They just gave it to me and pushed me right through. That messes with your self-esteem, your pride. It beats you down as a person, and it makes you think that you can't achieve the smallest thing. And to other people, oh yeah, college is no big deal. But to me, it's a lifesaver, because I was always taught that I couldn't make it there. I was always taught that. Even my own mom said I wasn't going to graduate from high school. Not so much warm. I deserve better. It's like, I can do this. I can get this done. Life does not have to be just about race. It should not have to be, well, we're white and you're black, so we're smarter than you. it made me feel like we were equal now. Now we're on an equal playing field. So it's like, okay, what else can I do? Go to college, get education, read more, do something, reach out to somebody else. Even if it's seeing somebody that's sad, just say hi. Because you never know what type of impact you may have on that person.
I felt like, I don't know, I was just, you feel sort of like left out. Like, you're like, hey, what about me? Like you have like this little voice like, hey, what about, but you actually don't say it. But, you just kind of feel like, you left out. I don't know, you feel lonely. It's not like a happy place to be. So,
I know what's going on. I know I've been taught to read people's actions, their body language. So it's not a surprise to me when I know when somebody doesn't like me. I can feel it.
It depends on the situation how I feel, because in some circumstances, people are so just blunt with their racism. You're not even offended, you're just shocked. You don't know how to respond to it sometimes. It's obscene, so you feel frustration. Sometimes you feel, a little bit depression. Sometimes, again, it's just a situation. You don't really know how to respond until you are given a certain situation.
It just made me, really? Okay, I'm gonna try harder.
So I didn't like it, and I wanted to prove them differently.
Well, I felt hurt. Like, I couldn't believe it was happening, and I knew it existed, but not to me, so I was kind of shocked with that.
I got smuggled in a van, in the dashboard of a van at 4 years old. I grew up and everybody just looked down upon me. Everybody from teachers. I got left back. Now, as a little kid, I thought about it and I said, wow, I might not be good enough in school. I might be a little dumb. I never thought it was actually the other people. But as I went through school and I started going through classes, I started getting straight A's after that. So then I figured it out. When I went to 6th grade, I was still illegal. I only had my permit to be here. My parents fought, and they actually got the NACARA Act that they supposedly gave out to Salvadorians because of refugees that came into the country. And under those laws, we got a residency. When I was in 6th grade, I saw this Marine walk into my school in full uniform. And I looked at him and I saw this just stature of grand, something so above normal, almost heavenly to me. And it caught my eye. And I said, you know what? This country has given me the opportunity to prove myself, not just, in the classroom, but in life itself. I can make something of myself here. Why not give something back? And I felt that it was my obligation, more than anything in this world, to serve this country. So I did. When we was in Baghdad, on the way to Baghdad, we had to build a bridge. It was like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. We had a firefight, we had incoming fire. We started firing back. After a while, everything cooled down. Morning comes around, there are dead bodies everywhere. They were Iraqis. Regardless of what they were trying to do, you know what? It's a dead body, respect it. Guys would pull out their guns, put it to the guy's mouth, and take a picture of it, like a trophy. It angered me. It really angered me. Even though they were my brothers, and they were there with me the whole time, I just couldn't stand it. I told the guys, listen, back up. Why? Why? They're dead Iraqis. It don't matter. They're worthless. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're a human being. Hey, they're not that much different. You get a cut, you bleed red. They get a cut, they bleed red. What's so different?
You never want to be the weaker one. So, sometimes when you're scared and you don't want to lose, and you don't want to lose the battle, like whose race is superior. You want to say, you know what, well, my race is better than yours, because maybe you're just afraid that you don't want to be the weak one.
Sort of like high school or middle school mentality. Like you have your several different cliques, and it's just always, you know, even with like, you know, during gym, a game of dodgeball, who's gonna get picked last? You know, nobody wants to be that last person, because that person is usually the short, fat kid who can't always run and isn't the best at everything. So nobody wants to be that person. China itself, the actual name, if you translate it literally, is Central Kingdom. So it's like we think we're the best race, we're the highest, and that we are far more advanced than everybody else. So we hold ourselves to a much higher standard than to everybody else. So I think that's mostly what it stems from, that we think we're so much better than everybody else, when some of us really aren't that great.
People fear what they don't understand. So, you know, the fact that if one person doesn't want to understand other people, then I don't think prejudice will ever, you know, go away. You know, it doesn't take one person to stop this. It takes everybody.
I think that people do use clothing and other things such as grades and positions as armor to represent who they are, and that's not the case. I don't think it should represent, you know, who you are. I think it should be more so what you have accomplished.
If I never opened my mind, I wouldn't have some of my best friends. Like, I wouldn't have them in my life, or I would have never learned from them.
Just having to sit down and talk about why, you know, there's so much hatred. You know, is it because of, you know, what happened to you in your life? Was there another person in your life that was actually the same descent from me that did you wrong? Or, you know, just to talk about it. And sometimes, you know, you might not reach an agreement, but if you know what that person's coming from, you can have a better understanding than just not talking to them at all and just being angry.
I started thinking about, well, what is it that I do every day that might be helping this go along? What can I actually do to stop it?
One thing that we can do is, you know, just have a sit down and just have a talk.
But this sit down will have to consist of the 3 billion people in the world, because each and every person has to be at this humongous table of the sit down, and kind of give their own personal opinion and outlook on how racism can be diminished permanently from this earth.